This is an interview with Reverend Milton Stollenwerck of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute's Oral History Project. I'm Dr. Horace Huntley. We're presently at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Today is June 4th, 1997. Thank you, Reverend Stollenwerck, for taking time out of your schedule to come and sit and talk with me today about Birmingham and the movement. I just want to talk initially, ask you a couple of questions about your background, your family, your mother and father. You were born in Birmingham?
Yes.
Were your mother and father from Birmingham?
Yes.
Originally?
Yes.
Is that right? Oh, that's, well, where were their folk from?
Selma
Selma.
and Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
My mother's mother came from Selma.
Okay.
My mother's father came from Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on my daddy's side, both of them came from down around Greensboro.
Okay.
That's Alabama.
Right, okay. We're not North Carolina. Okay. So you are a Birmingham boy. You've been here all your life.
Yes.
What community did you grow up in?
Born and reared in the Smithfield community.
Smithfield.
Yes.
Now, Smithfield, of course, is an old community and a very noted community. What was it like growing up in Smithfield?
Well, Smithfield was a hodgepodge of unpaved roads, the railroad tracks, the Italian grocery stores on every corner. I suspect about the best thing we had in Smithfield was Parker High School.
Mm.
Of course, during that time, for blacks, there was only one high school in the city of Birmingham. Now there, I don't want to get ahead of it, but there we believed in academic excellence, as opposed to what appears to be the situation now. Not at Parker High School in the educational system period,
Right.
or systems.
Right.
But somehow it seemed to be got removed from.
We want to talk about that in a little bit because I think that's significant. That's very significant. Look at what Parker was like at one period in our history, and then what our school system happens to look like now. But when did you start school? When did you start first grade?
At Lincoln Elementary School.
Okay. Is there anything that's staying out in your mind about your days at Lincoln?
Well, we were disciplined, well disciplined. And it was none of this yell and no, You had to do it correctly. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You know, just. And then you were prompted to excel. We couldn't do less than to be our very best at Lincoln School. Of course, I stayed there, I think, through the 6th grade. And I was living in the middle of two school areas. And I chose to go to Tuggle. I graduated from Tuggle.
Why did you choose Tuggle versus the other school? Did Lincoln go to the 8th grade at that time?
Yes.
Okay, why did you choose Tuggle over Lincoln?
Personal problems. And when I got there, I found things to my liking.
Were these personal problems in the school with other students or with teachers?
Problems with the other students more than anything else.
Oh, okay.
I didn't particularly care for the environment, and being reared by my grandmother, she allowed me to change. When I got up there and I found out, believe it or not, all of the administrators were, to borrow a colloquial, they were gung-ho on excellence and respect.
At both schools?
Yes, yes. And responsibility. They believed if you said you were going to do something at 9, you did that at 9. My grandmother said if you have an appointment for 1:30, for example, you ought to be there at least by 1:15.
Just as you were today.
Yeah, don't be late.
Right.
You don't have any reason to be late, and that's in my bones.
Yeah, that promptness being a virtue.
Yeah.
Itself.
Yeah.
Let me ask you just a little about your mother and father. They were born here in Birmingham. Tell me about their educational background.
They were high school graduates.
Did they go to Parker to industrial?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know how to put this. My dad, the time was hard. My dad left and went to Cleveland, Ohio. And he said that when he was established, he'd come back after his family, 2 children, a boy and a girl, and our mother. But something intervened there. He never got back.
How old were you when you left?
Very young. Very young.
In elementary school.
No, I hadn't started school.
Oh, I see.
Okay. My mother died when I was 9. And that's where my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, came into the picture. She lived to us.
Okay. What kind of work did your mother and father do, as well as your grandmother?
But I don't know that my mother ever did any work.
Outside.
I'm almost sure she must have. But you understand now that I'm just 9 years old.
Right.
My dad was a mechanic for General Motors out of Cleveland.
Did your grandmother work?
And she was a domestic. She was domestic on the Highland, the south side of.
So there were 2 of you, a boy and a girl.
Yes.
Was your sister older or younger than you?
She was younger.
And your grandmother allowed you to go to Togo to finish elementary school.
Yeah.
Is there anything that stands out in your mind about your experiences at Togo?
For one reason or another, I almost fell through the cracks. This is something that I have not publicized really, for no particular reason.
Right.
I started from time to time going to the Grand Theater, going to the Frolic Theater.
In elementary school?
Yes. When I should have been in school. But there was a woman by the name of Carrie Bill McQueen, C.B. McQueen. She was an attendance officer. And anytime you were in there looking at the vaudeville in the Frolic, and somebody caught sight of Ms. McQueen, all they had to do was say Ms. McQueen, and they cleared that thing out. So I began to lose too many days. And Wade Hudson, who was the principal at that time, sent me home because he wanted my grandmother to know what I was doing. When I got home, she said, well, I can't go up there. I got to work. So we went to the neighbor's house and used the telephone, and Buddy Hudson said, "Come to my house. When you get off from work, Miss Parker, you come to my house."
Did he live in the community?
Yes, he lived between my house and the school. We went up there that evening, and Buddy Hudson said to me, "Young man," said, I don't believe you want to go to school." At that time, I don't think it made much difference, to tell you the truth. But he said, I said, yes, sir, I want to. I'm going to give you one more chance. The very next time you get involved in kind of thing, you are out for good. And I looked at Mom, and she dropped her head, and I could see a tear. I said, I'm going to do better than this.
Made a decision right there.
Made a decision right there, because it was hurting her too much, and she had gone way out of the way to, look out for me. I finished Tug.
What grade were you in when that happened? Were you in the sixth?
Probably the seventh, 6th or 7th. Hadn't been up there, I don't think, too long. But then I began to get a hold of the situation,
right,
and myself.
When you arrived at Parker, were you involved in any extracurricular activities?
I sang in the choir. I played in the band. I participated in several oratorical contests as they were sponsored by the, let me see, what is that? The Independent Benevolent Organization of Elks, I believe they call it. They still have their house down on 8th Avenue, 12th Street North. I went all over I went to several states with the Elks for their convention, playing in the band under the direction and tutelage, if you will, of Fetz Whiteley.
Oh, okay, so you studied under Fetz Whiteley.
Yeah. But I played in the band under George Hudson. Mm-hmm. But for this special occasion, or these special occasions, we were under Fetz Whiteley.
Mm-hmm. What do you remember about Fetz Whiteley? What kind of person was he?
I thought the world of him. And I got close to him because when I entered high school, well, first of all, when I went to high school, instead of going to the main building, that was a situation adjacent to the Lincoln Elementary School that they called the annex. The 9th grade students always went to the annex and then to the main building. When I was in the 10th grade at the main building, Fetz he was John Tuggle Watley. He had a brother who was Peter Bradford Watley. They assigned me to Peter's upholstery class. And I was going in rather tattered, my clothing. And at one point, Peter said, I have a bunch of suits that I've discarded. You may have them if you want. Now Melvin Caswell was a tailoring teacher, and their rooms were next door to each other. So Peter Watley went to Melvin and told him my situation, and gave those clothes to him and told him to alter them, since he was teaching tailoring. And for one reason or another, it seemed to me that John Watley took a liking to me. And in fact, we were so close that many of the folk on the staff thought that we were a family. He was liberal. We talk about Fetz Whiteley now. Liberal, but forward and direct. And everybody, in fact, on the campus were like his children. So when he spoke,
everybody listened.
Every rat ready to hold him.
Yes, well, that's very interesting, because of course That's why it stands out as far as music is concerned.
Yeah.
And you'll have the opportunity to actually study with them. I think that's quite an accomplishment. What did you do after high school?
Well, I had learned upholstery. My grandmother was a domestic, as I told you. She did the laundry for those high-powered Jews on the Highland. And on weekends, I would go to some of their houses and rake leaves and wash windows and these kinds of things. But after 3 years in Watley's upholstery class, I thought that I had learned enough to use that as my vocation. And this lady called for me to come do some work around the house. I told my grandmother, I said, you tell her I'm not coming. Because I have a trade. And I'm going into my trade. She said, we'll be back. Well, he's crazy. He can make this little money while he's getting ready for his, I guess I was crazy, but I went into business. In fact, when I graduated from high school, I had 5 scholarships, music scholarships. But my financial circumstances wouldn't allow me to participate in it. However, I did go out to Miles College. I stayed out there 2 quarters. I left Miles and went into business. 2 years later, I was hired by the Jefferson County Board of Education and under special circumstances in the veterans program. And it was then that I started working on my college education.
And did you do that at Miles?
No, I stayed at Miles, as I said before, about 2 quarters.
Right.
Then I went to Alabama A&M. There, while in service, I learned the BS degree.
While in service?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So where did you?
See, I was hired under an emergency teaching certificate.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. And then when I finished that, a few years later, I went to Alabama State. And there I learned the MED degree. It's Master's in Education.
Right. Well, did you, after the 2 quarters, 2 semesters at Miles, did you then go to the military?
No. I never went to the service.
Oh, you never went to the service?
No, never went to the service.
I see.
Well, see, I got married at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
And, World War II ended before it ended in 45.
That's right.
And I graduated from high school in 47.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, but they kept me on the list for a long time. And every time they would call me to go to the service, I had another child.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And finally they just let me alone.
This is a period that they were supposedly integrating the armed forces at that time.
Yeah, they started that under Truman. Yeah, okay.
And of course, 1954 being the Brown decision, I'm sure you have memories of that. Were you a voter prior to the Brown decision?
No.
When did you become a voter?
Wait a minute, that decision came down in 54.
54, right.
Yes, I was a voter.
Do you remember going and taking the test
Yeah,
to become a voter?
yeah.
What was that like?
Like going before the Supreme Court, you would have, you have to forgive me, a Rosen chew. sitting behind a desk, and he would put those papers up there and tell you to fill them out, and he would spit across the room in a golden spit tune. I guess that's what they call that thing. And he would say something, when you through with that, he would say something like this, okay boy, you can go, we'll be in touch with you. And I remember my barber, I think my barber gave me $2, because that was the poll tax. You had to pay that, to vote.
Did you pass the test the first time?
Yes, yes.
So you received a notice in the mail
Yes.
that you had.
Yes.
Okay. What do you remember about the Brown versus Board of Education decision? Do you remember what was happening in your life at that time? Because that would just precede the Montgomery bus boycott.
I vaguely remember specifics in that connection.
Yeah, this was a
It's
time.
been a while,
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Right after, of course, the Brown decision, then seemingly movement started. Although, I'm one of those that suggests that if we're talking about civil rights movement, of course, the modern day movement starts with Brown. But there's much that was taking place prior to that. The NAACP and registered people who voted, and in fact, as a result of his activity in 1956, it was outlawed from the state of Alabama. This then led, of course, to something that you're very familiar with, that's the Alabama Christian movement.
I'm a child of member.
You were at the first meeting.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. We know that the NAACP was outlawed from operating within that week. Some of you got together and decided that there was a necessity to fill this void. How did that come about?
If memory serves me correctly, Shuttlesworth called that meeting. But he had fellows like Abraham Woods and Pfeiffer.
Gardner, Reverend Gardner.
Yes. He had, I don't remember all of the participants, but that was a group that had come together at his behest.
Right.
And they decided they were going to have a meeting to see if they couldn't circumvent the ruling of the outlawing of the NAACP.
Right.
And we bet that everybody there, presumably. You got to understand now that there were some mainline pastors, if that means anything, who were not with the movement, who didn't want to fight. Well, they were eating at the king's table, and so I can understand that, but I didn't.
Were these usually older ministers? And
Yeah,
were the
yeah.
ministers that were along with you guys, were all of you younger?
For the most part. But the old head was saying, well, wait. And of course, that's peculiar, because that's all I had heard all of my life. Is wait. The time is not yet. Wait. And of course, you always have that group who's still ready to wait, willing to wait. Who had contacts in the city hall and that kind of thing.
Right.
We were aware of it, but there was nothing we could do about it except to further promote our program, further promote our efforts,
Right.
and just let them hang on the outside.
What do you remember about the first meeting?
Well, we had singing, hymn singing. We had prayer, and we had speeches, and then we called for a vote as to our position on forming this new organization, and it went out overwhelmingly. And at that meeting, we elected president by all of the officers, and began having meetings.
Did you serve in any official capacity
No.
at that time?
No.
Approximately how many people were at that first meeting?
Well, I don't know what old Sardis Church holds.
But it was full.
It was, yes, sir, hanging in rafters and outside.
Mm.
There were a lot of folk outside there who were gods,
Mm.
you know. So, but you have to be careful about trying to determine how many folk are there, because once you got in, you couldn't get out. All you could do is assess what the inside looked like.
Right. How would you characterize a mass meeting? Mass meetings were held every Monday night at various churches around the city. If for younger people with no concept of what a mass meeting was like, how would you describe it to so that they would understand what it was like to attend one of those meetings?
I think the mass meeting was more, it was spiritual in its development. You always had your services, your prayers and your hymn singing and your speeches. Folk were being motivated, and of course you understand that you have to keep motivating folk. Every meeting you got to motivate them some more, and that basically what happened, because as it turned out, there was a sort of hierarchy. Folk who set policy, at the head of, and of course, if any organization is going to function effectively, it had to have the leaders, the heads, So much of what took place, for example, that was in the meeting. We dealt with things common to the masses, but the hierarchy dealt with the how to, or when to, or where to. They developed that strategy and then disseminated it to us.
Yeah, I understand that. What was your role as a young man at the time? Were you teaching at that point?
Yes.
Were you at Carver? We're not. There were many teachers who, of course, did not participate because they were afraid of losing their job. Why did you decide otherwise?
I was like those who were afraid. I was afraid to get. I didn't want to lose my job, and I don't think you said many teachers. Well, yeah, there were quite a few teachers who refused to participate overtly.
Right.
But we were support for those folk who, for example, John Porter could not lose his job.
Right.
Luke Beard at 16 could not lose his job. The ministerial leaders couldn't lose their job, but they could fight us off.
But nevertheless, you attended meetings.
Yes.
Some that would not attend
Yeah,
meetings,
I
that
attended.
didn't want to be seen there because they were afraid, but you were one of those
Yeah.
that did attend.
I don't know if we had many Lucinda B. Robles.
Right.
She put her all on the line, and they didn't bother her. And she was at every meeting. But there were those of us who would send our money to support the effort. But I went.
Why did you decide to go?
I wanted to see what was going on, and I wanted to be a part of it, so that.
But you still could have lost your job just by being there.
Well, I guess I was naive. I didn't think that that they would do that to me at the simply because I was there.
Mm.
Yes, I did go.
But you also demonstrated.
Yes, very definitely. Right there in the crowd. And I would get with fellas like John Drew. You know John Drew?
Sure.
I would make it to fellas like him and hang on to them.
Mm.
And wherever he went, that's where I would go. I was never out front to the extent that I would confront those dogs, fire hoses.
Were you ever arrested?
No. Somehow I avoided it. I guess I wasn't in that place, you know, to
But
be
you wasn't in the right place at the right time.
yeah.
Or the wrong place at the right time.
Whatever.
Yes. 1960, of course, the year that students start to get involved. I mean, Miles college students all over the Southeast. Sit-ins in 61, the Freedom Rides. 62, selective buying campaign. 63, of course, is when it all culminates with the demonstrations here and with the children from the city schools. You were still a teacher in one of the city schools, and you knew that children were being attracted. How did that play with you, and what was your stance on the issue of the use of the children in the movement at that particular juncture?
At the very beginning, I thought that it was, I thought that it was using the children as pawns. But I came to realize that in numbers, there is strength. I never shall forget, there was a woman in Collegeville who was up around the hood, and she had 8 or 9 children. All of them went through Carver High School. One morning, after the mass meeting, A.D. King, Martin's brother, came to Carver High School. And at that time we had chain link fences around the building. But the gates were not locked. I don't know how they came to that decision, whether, but the students were in the hall talking about, let's go. I wanted to know what was going on. So I went up around the office, and the principal stepped out of his office and he said, I'm not trying to stop you. If you're going, go ahead. If you aren't going, let's go into classes and have school. He turned around and went back in.
Who was the principal?
Dr. Goodson, J. Spurgeon Goodson. You know him?
No.
Not a finer man in that time, but anyway, that wasn't black man's opinion. But A.D. King was saying something had happened that precluded his coming on the ground. But I think the law said he couldn't come on the ground, or he couldn't come on the ground of the schools.
So he stood out.
Across the street, he stood there and raised his arm like this and said, y'all come. And they all pulled out. Of course, you understand then, the authorities placed the kids out at Rickwood Field.
Fair Park.
They didn't have any, it was Fair Park.
Given out of space.
Yeah, they given out space and they put them out there. And then there was something about taking some of their credits or something, you know, after they were identified. I don't think anything came to that. I think the movement went to court and got that set aside. But I came to realize, as I attempted to say before, and if you want some strength, you got to get you some numbers. And I think that was, well, I started at the greatest turning point, but then it played a tremendous role in the turning point of.
Well, some suggest that that was the turning point, and if it had not been for the children, the movement probably would have lost, just as it did at some say it did in Albany, I believe, prior to Dr. King coming to Birmingham.
But you know, let me share this peculiar experience with you. When those students left the grounds of Carver High School, they left 3 in the school.
3?
3.
Everybody left.
Everybody left. And that was, I don't know how many were on the staff at that time, but they were all there naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But we had 3 students.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a preacher's children.
Oh, they were siblings?
Yeah. He dared them to leave. And they stayed there that whole week. And of course, the teacher was letting everybody to teach. But those 3 students stayed there the whole week that the rest of the folk were in.
That's interesting. That's the first time I've heard that.
Well, off camera, I'll tell you his name.
You were a member of 16th Street Baptist Church.
Bred, born, reared, whatever it is.
And, of course, 63 in September, that's when this infamous bombing took place. You had children that attended the church as well. Were you all in attendance at church that morning?
Well, that's kind of tricky. Let me share with you. Those girls who died, Luke Beard, who was the pastor, was sick. And he asked me to perform the rite of baptism. McNair and Robertson. And, well, anyway, I baptized them. That particular Sunday morning, I don't know why, but I dropped 3 children off for Sunday school. And I went round to Smith and Gaston funeral home. That's where it is now. Don't know why I went there. But I heard this blast. And I was standing in the back door of the funeral home. And I looked over to 16th Street, and there was a great plume of smoke. And I took off and ran across the lot. When I got there, I could see on the side of the building, it had been blown out. By this time, I believe James Lake was a reserve officer of some kind. He was there trying to cause traffic had begun. And he had his megaphone. He that thing trying to get the folk. Because the police hadn't arrived yet. At the front entrance of the church, that downstairs entrance, folk were beginning to come out, and I said, has anybody seen Marsha? That was my daughter. Anybody seen my children? And they were the first or second to come out of the building. The boy he had a stream of blood running down out of his scalp down there. By this time, Willie Bud, who was an ambulance driver for Smith and Gaston, had come in, and they were starting to get the folk who were injured, to get them transported. And since my son had an injury and we didn't know where it was, I told the 2 girls, I said, go to Smith and Gaston funeral home, and your mom's gonna come get you. Then they wanted somebody to go to the hospital. Bud said, come on, Rev, said your son going. Well, when I got in the ambulance with him, and I went to the emergency room, and the folk from the church began to rush in.
And I go to Hillman?
No.
What hospital?
Jimmy, what is that thing that, right?
Probably, UAB Hospital?
Yeah, right there on, what is that, 6th Avenue?
No, like 8th Avenue, well, actually, yeah, 6th Avenue and 20th Street.
Well, wherever the emergency room was at that
Oh,
time.
okay, right.
It was in that UAB complex. It was not the Hillman Hospital,
Okay.
because I think it's up on 7th Avenue, on 20th Street, 7th Avenue. That one red building over there. But somebody said to me, because he wrote it off, the emergency room said, we need somebody who can give out information, because these folks will be coming looking for persons who may have been injured or whatever. And somebody said, here's Reverend Stollenwerck, maybe he'll do it. Then they put me inside of that rope, and I stood there. Sad thing about it was that I recognized the children when they brought the bodies in. I didn't see the bodies. I saw their clothing. And I saw one of my friends' daughter's shoes. And I knew who that was. Yet when the family came to me, they knew me well enough. Milton, have you seen so-and-so? I said, I lied. I couldn't find it in my heart to tell them that girl was one of those bodies that they had brought in. Now this is the second time I've mentioned that. I told Lola, and I'm telling you, I've never told them.
Is that right?
You know,
To this day?
no, to this day. But I
So
said
that must have been a heart-wrenching situation. You seeing them and knowing, but not being able to divulge that kind of information.
not at that point, they couldn't handle it.
Right.
In fact, they had not been officially declared dead anyway. You see?
How did your children react?
I don't really recall. I really don't. I have a daughter who's rather rambunctious in her nature, and she probably, would,
Malika.
yeah.
And she was there at the church. Right?
Yeah, she was one of those who came, one of my children who came out of the basement.
I know that those were some trying times, and all the people I've talked with talked about that incident, or most of them, and you think about that, and you wonder what goes through people's minds. Like you said, you ran from the funeral home down to the church, around to the church, and of course, immediately seeking to find out where your children were, and then you found that they were basically safe. Your instinct then was to assume to help other people at that point.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I would have stayed, I would have remained on the scene, except that I was one of the first persons on the scene. And there was nobody else willing to take the time. I suppose most of the folk were running around trying to find and see what had happened, But since I got the first load in the ambulance and went on to I didn't get back to, the
So you didn't get to see when the people came and they were, really upset. I mean, the masses of people, and then the police. In fact, you were gone before the police got there. So.
Yeah.
Fire.
I'm trying to recall, because I spoke at one point to UPI, and I recall the person on the phone, but I'm trying to remember, I'm losing some continuity here. I'm trying to remember exactly when it was that I spoke to the folk But I recall saying to the person on the phone, she wanted to know, well, what's going on? What's the police doing? And my response was, they are marching up and down the street in Gestapo type fashion, with their guns drawn and this kind of thing. And that was the chairman of the board of deacons. Well, in fact, he had called me to the phone because the pastor, John Cross, was not there. And Charles Allen Brown. I don't know if you know him from Brighton.
Yes.
And he said, "Oh, Reverend, don't be so hard on him." I said, "Well, you told me to tell him what was going on." Okay, from there. So I don't know at which interval I got a chance to speak to them. Maybe it was before I went to them.
Well, if the police were out front, that meant that it had to have been a little later, because police were not there when you left, and probably in mass, it would have had to have been somewhat later anyway, because they were called in to quell the disturbance, because black folk would be upset at that point.
But now, I went to the hospital and I stayed there until way over in the evening, 8 or 9 o'clock. I tell you, there's some discontinuity somewhere there. Well, that's been a long time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then many times I find that if you, over a period of time, things seem to move into that particular day that was not there, and other things move out, so that's understandable, very much so. What was Birmingham like after that?
Very tense. After the bombing?
Yes.
Very tense. Everybody was watching everybody else. And even those other folk who claimed that they were friends of these folk.
Now, what folk are you referring to?
I'm talking about the relationship between the black and white community.
Okay.
Just a remnant of the community was able to come together and try to stabilize the situation. But it's my opinion that was mass distrust among those folk who had claimed to trust and respect each other.
Right. What was it like being a member of that church? Going back to the church.
Well, as you must understand by now that several families left because of the church's involvement. That were those. You see, 16th Street has always been noted as a class church, not a mass church.
That's right.
And many of those folk did not want to be involved in the struggle anyway. I suspect mainly because they were reputed to be of the upper crust, you know, and they didn't have any reason to create any problems of dissension or whatever, because they were living on the mountain, so to speak.
So the result of the church being so active, many of those people some of those people would leave the congregation.
Yes, they did. Of course, I hasten to admit that those persons, those families who lost family members in that bombing situation were the main folk who took lead of 16th Street. Now there were others, but for the most part, it was that group who lost.
There were those who would not attend 16th Street because they feared that it would happen again. Did the membership then start to diminish as a result? I know over time there's been difficulty in the church with membership. Was that one of the reasons that over time that would continue?
I'm not so sure. 16th Street never had, no, that's not true. I started to say they never had an overflowing attendance, but they had, it seemed to me that they had started to decline, even before the bombing. I suspect some of that was because of the involvement of the church in the movement.
Your pastor was involved.
Yeah, originally, the pastor was rather passive, but when he died and they called another pastor, he saw no problems with being involved.
What pastor was that?
Which one?
The one that came in and...
That was John Cross.
Right.
The bombing took place under his administration.
Yeah.
But I remember one Sunday, and I don't know many folk who remember this, but one Sunday the pastor spoke, Luke Beer, I tell you who he was. He spoke and he said something to 16th Street membership. He said, "You're a little more than a social club." That was in his 11 o'clock message.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "It may not happen in my lifetime, but you're headed in a direction that you'll find yourself nothing but a museum."
Mm.
This had to be in the early 50s.
Oh, that early.
Oh yes.
Why was he making that statement at that?
Well, apparently the membership was declining.
Oh, I see.
That's all I can see.
Projecting the future
Yeah.
based upon what was taking place at that point.
Yeah, but now, how far wrong
Mm-hmm.
was he?
Mm-hmm. Well, some would say, in the past 10 years anyway, we've seen, I guess the membership now has started to increase again.
But now you have to kind of understand, I don't know if it's increasing or not.
So you still remember?
No, I was there 50 years, but circumstances developed, and I thought it best to leave. I have a social studies major, and I attribute my ability to recall certain things because of that social studies background. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I just dropped that in for whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, that could very well be. That means you're trained in that manner to some degree. We've covered a lot of territory, and we've talked about a lot of subjects. Then, when we initially started, we talked about school system and the way school systems were in the period of segregation versus where we are today. From your perspective, what has been the difference? What has made for the change in the ways in which we're educated now versus when we were under the throes of segregation?
I don't know who it was who articulated that too much freedom is just as dangerous as not having any at all. Early on, this kid was sitting in my classroom and she was doing nothing, just sitting there. And I asked her, "Baby, what are you going to do for your grade?" And she sniggled and dropped her head. I said, "I asked you a question. What are you going to do about your grade?" She said, what you mean? I said, well, you aren't doing anything. She said, you can't make me do anything. Says, I'm free. And my response to her was, well, free to do what? To be dumb? In my day, I never would have said anything like that to, not only the teacher, to the neighbors, you know. So I'm thinking that it's too much, we have too much free. We can't make folk be responsible. They were talking about child brutality, that kind of thing. I remarked that if they had charged my grandmother with brutality, she'd be in jail now. I said, but it didn't hurt me.
Do you think that's as a result of the movement? The gaining of the freedom?
It is a result of misguided folk. And that may be the same thing you said, you know. But students just don't do like they, and I think it begins at home. I think it begins, because I firmly believe that kids now are rearing themselves.
When does that change, though? We often hear that.
It changed in the time frame of the demonstration. The courts rendering these kinds of decisions. I told somebody just the other day, I said, the leaders in this society have us locked in. They know what they're going to allow us to do for the next 200 years. And we're sitting on our laurels and just forgetting about the forces that threaten us.
Some say that we were better off before integration. And after integration, we seem to start to lose what we had actually gained. What is your opinion of that?
I agree to some great extent. For example, I don't think that we had as many students coming out of even high school who could not read as we have now.
The question though is why? Why not?
Well, we had the home. What is this thing? It takes a whole village to raise a child. We've forgotten that. When I came home, even if the neighbor lied on me, I was chastised for it. Consequently, if she chastised me, I would always hope that she didn't tell my grandmother, because I got chastised again. You know, and they'll tell you quick, I don't believe in chastising. I don't believe in telling my no or don't. There's something wrong there.
So that the family and community that we had during those days was somehow extinguished, and that has created, well, really has created habit.
Well, if you really look at that thing, you don't have any families anymore. You don't have any communities anymore. You have a bunch of houses and folk going in to go to bed. There's been a breakdown. For example, when I hate to keep doing it, but this is the only way I know how to do it. When it was time to eat breakfast, everybody knew what time that was. And everybody was at that table. It's time to eat supper or dinner or whatever you call it. Everybody knew what time that was. And they were at that table. Moreover, they said grace. Or they said the Bible verse after the old man had said grace. And you don't have any of that now. And some folk have the audacity to say it's old-timey fashion, but that's where the breakdown started. When the parents lost control of these homes. Yeah, the homes, not houses. That's where the breakdown started. And it continued. And strangely enough, what transpires in the former generation is passed on to the latter. And that's why folk are talking about our losing generations. Because these later generations don't have anything to build on. Because they didn't get it up there.
So now we wonder what the next generation will be like.
Right. There's no telling.
Reverend Stollenwerck, has been great. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come and sit and talk with me. Maybe we, after I review this and look at some of the transcript, may like to do something in addition to this. So I appreciate your time. If there's anything else that you'd like to leave with us, feel free to. If not, we'll save it the next time and we'll do it again.
Save it to the next time.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much.